Hello, I'm David. Welcome to our channel.
Hello, I'm Sophia too.
So today we're doing a deep dive into a film that I think kind of did the impossible back in the mid-2000s horror scene.
Oh, definitely.
The Exorcism of Emily Rose. It's a title people know, but they often just lump it in with other possession movies.
Right, but it is so much more than that. And we really need to explore how its choices, its whole structure, make it this masterpiece of tension.
Exactly. And a lot of that credit goes to the director, Scott Derrickson. I mean, you know him now from these huge blockbusters like Doctor Strange or my favorite, The Genuinely Terrifying Sinister.
And this film is really where you see him taking a premise that feels, a bit tired, the exorcism, and using it as a Trojan horse for something much deeper.
Right. It wasn't just another shock fest in an era that was full of them. It stood out.
And that's because of its unique DNA. It's not just blending horror with the courtroom drama. It uses the courtroom as the engine of the entire film.
The scary parts, the actual exorcism scenes, they're all flashbacks.
They're evidence. They're exhibits in a legal case, not the main plot.
And our mission here is to really get into how a film can be a supernatural horror story and at the same time make you feel like you're on the jury.
Weighing science against faith, it's just remarkable that it worked so well.
And the cast they assembled, I mean, that tells you something about the script.
Oh, the cast is incredible. You have Laura Linney, Tom Wilkinson, Jennifer Carpenter, Campbell Scott,
Henry Czerny, Home Fior. It's an A-list group tackling a really tricky story.
A total narrative tightrope walk.
So let's get into Scott Derrickson's approach, because he just throws your expectations out the window from the first few minutes.
He really does. That opening scene, it's such a bold choice.
You see the creepy, isolated farmhouse. The title card pops up.
And you're conditioned, right? You think, okay, here comes the priest.
Here's the hero. He's going to save the girl, the whole thing.
But the man walking up to that house, past that very ominous barbed wire fence.
It's not the exorcist.
No, it's the medical examiner.
And the film just hits you with it. The exorcism failed. She's dead.
And that one decision just completely reframes the entire movie. The horror isn't about if she'll survive.
The central conflict is no longer a priest versus a demon.
No, it's belief versus skepticism. And it's all happening in a courtroom where Father Moore, played by Tom Wilkinson, is on trial for negligent homicide.
And the prosecution's case is just so grounded and logical.
Totally. They argue she had epileptic psychosis, schizophrenia, that the priest convinced the family to stop her medical treatment.
And this ritual, this unproven ritual, is what led to her death.
So as a viewer, you're not just a passive audience member watching a scary movie anymore.
No, you're examining evidence. Every terrifying flashback, you're forced to ask yourself,
is that a demon, or is that a symptom of a very sick, starving young woman?
It makes the audience think critically, which is so rare for this genre. And I think that's why it gained such a following later on.
After Derrickson got big, people went back and they saw, oh, this is where he started treating these genre tropes with real intellectual weight.
Right.
And that intellectual weight is perfectly matched by the visual style. The technical side is just brilliant.
Especially when you remember this is a PG-13 horror film.
Which is usually a death sentence, right?
Yeah.
It means jump scares and no real bite.
But he uses that limitation. The film is so mature, it deals with these really adult themes, and the horror is all earned. It's all suspense and atmosphere.
We have to talk about the lighting, or I guess the lack of it.
Yes. Most horror films, they overlight their night scenes. You can see everything clearly. It looks like dusk.
But in this film, the darkness is real. And because it's real, it's terrifying.
That recurring detail of the witching hour, 3 a.m., especially in those scenes with Laura Linney's character, she's the skeptic, and then she starts to experience these things in her apartment.
And when she's walking through her apartment at night, the lighting is so low, it's just what would actually be there, Street light coming through the window.
Exactly. There are moments where you can, barely even see the features on her face.
And that forces you, the viewer, to lean in and search the darkness with her. It feels grounded. It mimics that real fear of being alone in the dark.
The terror is in your own mind, not just some monster jumping out.
It's a way more immersive kind of fear. And even during the exorcism flashbacks, when he uses that handheld camera style.
Which is so appropriate for the chaos of those moments.
Right. But it never becomes that ugly found footage, shaky cam thing. It's controlled chaos. It keeps everything looking polished.
Okay, so let's shift to the performances. Because without them, none of this would work. The entire film hinges on these actors, making you believe in these huge, heavy themes.
Oh, absolutely. If the acting wasn't top-notch, the whole thing would fall apart. It would just be a cheesy horror movie with some boring courtroom scenes.
And I think we had to start with Jennifer Carpenter as Emily Rose.
Her performance is it's phenomenal.
It's one of the great physical performances in horror, period. She has to be this sweet, faithful college student.
And then become this horrifying, contorted figure.
And it's not CGI. It's her. She apparently studied a lot of medical footage of people in extreme physical distress.
And you can feel it. The way she contorts her body, the screams, the sounds she makes, it's all so visceral, and it does it without needing to be gory.
You feel her agony, which is so important for the priest's defense to even seem plausible.
And then you have the veterans holding down the courtroom side. Tom Wilkinson as Father Moore.
He's just devastating. He's not some wild-eyed fanatic. He's this quiet, grieving man who is convinced he did the right thing.
His performance has so much weight, and he's up against Laura Linney as the defense attorney.
Who is the perfect audience surrogate, right? She's a career-driven cynic who slowly starts to question everything.
Her whole journey, trying to stay professional while she's being personally terrified by these things at 3 a.m., that's really the heart of the film.
And Campbell Scott as the prosecutor is just so good. He's ruthless, but he's not a villain. He's just logical.
He's making the points that any rational person would make. The whole ensemble just makes sure that both sides of the argument feel completely sincere.
And that sincerity, that balance, that brings us to the most powerful part of the film for me.
The ambiguity.
The thematic ambiguity, yeah.
Yeah.
The courtroom case never feels one-sided. The prosecution makes really, really good points.
It's the movie looking right at you and saying, okay, we showed you the scary stuff. Now think about it.
And you're forced to doubt, to question your own assumption.
There's that one perfect visual detail that just sums it all up.
The barbed wire fence.
The barbed wire fence, yes. In the flashbacks, Emily develops the stigmata, the wounds on her hands and feet.
And is presented as this powerful supernatural sign. A miracle.
But then the prosecutor brings up that fence from the opening shot.
And he just plants that seed of doubt. He says, couldn't a young woman in a state of psychosis have just run into the fence?
And cut her hands and feet on the barbs.
And just like that, the miracle becomes a completely plausible, explainable injury.
And the film just leaves it there. It's a perfect 50-50 split. It refuses to tell you which one is true. You have to decide.
It's thematic genius.
And that same intellectual honesty goes all the way to the very end, which, for a Hollywood horror movie, is probably the most shocking part.
There is no big triumphant victory.
No demon shows up in the courtroom to prove the priest was right all along.
Nope. The jury listens to all the arguments, and they find Father Moore guilty of negligent homicide. He's convicted.
But in that final, perfect touch of ambiguity, they recommend a sentence of time served.
So he's legally responsible, he's punished, he can't go back to being a priest.
But the verdict also acknowledges that there was no malice.
Yeah.
It respects the spiritual intent behind his actions.
It's such a realistic, non-melodramatic ending. It doesn't give you that easy emotional release.
And that's why it's so memorable. It doesn't tell the believer or the skeptic that they're right. It just says the whole issue is incredibly complex.
You can't prove it, but you can't really disprove it either.
Exactly.
So, to sum up our deep dive, what we have with The Exorcism of Emily Rose is this incredibly mature, suspenseful horror film from the 2000s that managed to do so much with a PG-13 rating.
And it did it because Scott Derrickson was smart enough to fuse the genre with a courtroom drama structure.
Letting faith and science just collide under the pressure of legal battle.
The result is this amazing piece of cinema with these powerhouse performances, especially from Jennifer Carpenter, that respects its audience enough to make you the final judge.
It doesn't hold your hand. It makes you examine the evidence for yourself.
And I guess that's the final thought to leave you with. Just think about how powerful a film can be when it chooses to explore that gray area, that space between fact and faith.
Instead of just picking a side.
Right. That tension is often much more unsettling, and it stays with you longer than any jump scare.
We hope you enjoyed this deep dive. Thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned for our next video. So in order not to miss our next video, subscribe to our channel and ring the bell next to it to be notified of our next video. And if you liked our program today, like the video.